So Unit 9 lines up with Chapter 11 in our book that we're not using. So we're dealing with graphs of linear equations in two variables. A two-variable linear equation. So we're going to touch upon several basic things related to linear equations. Again, none of this should be brand new. All of this you've done over the course of Algebra 1/Algebra 2. So, we're going to start with a linear equation. So, a standard linear equation is ax squared plus ax plus by equals c. So this is an equation in standard form. This is an equation in standard form. So, for example, 3x plus 2y equals 6. That's standard form. The a value, the b value, and the c value, they would be numbers. So the only variables that you would see are x and y. Now, when you think back to Algebra 1, there were other ways that you saw a linear function. So I'm pretty sure you probably remember something along the lines of y equals mx plus b, known as slope-intercept form. And y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. This is called point slope form. And you probably remember a formula called y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is the slope formula. Slope rate of change formula. So, all of y'all are on mute. I'm pretty sure there's one person in the background that probably just says, oh my God. But it's not that you don't know how to do it, you just haven't had to do it in a while. So most of this is just triggering your memory. We'll get to the using of these formulas later. Right now is the general basics with a linear function. So let's work with a linear function. So, when we work with a linear function, so think back to the unit we just came out of. If you have one variable, so 5x minus 6 equals 29. So if you solve that out, you have x equals 7. One variable, one number. One variable, one number. When you have two variables, two variables, two numbers. Two variables, two numbers. So x equals 2, y equals 0. X equals 0, y equals 3. How do I know that those are the answers? Because I'm a genius. No, that's not the reason. 2 and 0 and 0 and 3 work? Because if you plug these numbers in for x and y, they give you an answer of 6. So, any answer, if you have 2 variables, then you need 2 numbers. 1 for each variable. So, for the example that they gave in this handout, so y equals 4x plus 5. So, since I know Steve will ask this question later, will they always give you an equation? No. It's either they're going to give you an equation to work with, or you're going to have to write it yourself. Later on in this unit, we will learn how to write the equation ourselves. So, since they gave you an equation, we have to figure out the x value and the y value that would work. So in this case, if we took 2 and plugged it in, if you take 2 and plug it in, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 plus 5 is 13. So you plug in 2, then you get back 13. So since x equals 2 and y equals 13, we write them in parentheses together. That is known as your ordered pair. That's known as your ordered pair. Again, should any of this be brand new? No. You've seen it before, you've done it before. But with that being said, any questions before we continue? So the answer to anything that has 2 variables has to have 2 answers. 1 for each variable. So let's do a little work with 2 variables in your equation. Let's do a little work with it. So the first thing is, if they give you a point, determining whether or not it works. Here's a point, does it work? So it's a yes or no answer, but your work has to justify it. So decide whether each ordered pair is a solution to 5x minus 2y equals 4. So they're starting us off with 2 comma 3. So 2 comma 3 means that x equals 2 and y equals 3. So in order for this to work, we're going to plug 2 in for x, 3 in for y, and we better get back an answer of 4. If we don't get an answer of 4, that means it failed. If we don't get 4, it failed. So let's do the computation. 2 goes in for x, so that means that's 5 times 2 minus 2 times 3, and we're hoping that we get 4. We're hoping that we get 4. 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 3 is 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. 4, 4. So that's how we check to see if it worked. Any questions, part A? All right. Part B, same rules apply. They gave us another ordered pair. We have to see if it works. So x equals -2 and y equals -3. So 5 times -2 minus 2 times -3. We have to get 4. If we don't get 4, then it's wrong. So let's go ahead and knock this out. What's 5 times -2? 10. So -2 times -3. 6. So -10 plus 6. And -10 plus 6 is -4. -4, +4. Now, so this is pretty straightforward. It either works or it doesn't. There is no wiggle room. It's either yes, it worked, they match, or no, they don't match. It's one or the other. It's one or the other. Any questions before we move on? I'll give a quick 30 seconds for those people who need to finish jotting anything down before we move on. Go ahead. Uh-huh. Yep, you solve for every option. Any option they give you, you do it. Because who's to say that the second option also, who's to say that the second option works too? The second option could work. For example, and I'm making this up off the top of my head, so let's see if I'm still as good as I think I am. 4, 8. So let's say the second option was 4, 8. So that's 5 times 4 minus 2 times 8. 5 times 4 is 20. 2 times 8 is 16. 20 minus 16 is 4. Oh, that worked. That's way too. That one worked. So I'm glad that you asked that question. Don't assume that because the first one worked, the second one's not. They could both work. They could both fail. The first one could fail and the second one works. Moral of the story, don't assume. But excellent question asked there. What the absolute value? I'm assuming that meant absolute value when you wrote it in there. All right, there you go. So they could give you an ordered pair and tell you does it work. They could also give you an ordered pair with one of the numbers missing. So notice that in letter A, the 3 was given, the second number you don't know. Or the first number is missing, but the second one, you know. So that means plug in the number that you know and solve for the one that you don't. Plug in the number that you know and solve for the number that you don't. So it does help to know what letter is which. So it's always X, comma, Y. Why? Because X comes before Y in the alphabet. That's why. So here's our equation. Our point was 3 comma blank. 3 comma blank. So there's our equation. Take 3, plug it in for X. So that's negative 3 times 3 plus Y equals 40. So now we solve for Y. So this is some light work. This is light work. What should we do first? Multiply 3, and that gives us what? Now, still going to get Y by itself, though. Add 9 to both sides. So Y equals 4 plus 9 is 13. So our answer is 3 comma 13. Fill in the blank. Talk about the 3 and the 13. I mean, you can if you need to check your work. Only if the directions tell you to. So if it just tells you to complete the ordered pair, that means you find the missing number, complete the ordered pair, and you can keep it moving. Now, if they said complete the ordered pair, then check the answer and make sure it worked, then you would plug both numbers back in to make sure it works. So, we did one in which Y was missing. Let's do one where X was missing. So X we don't know. We know that Y is equal to 1. Same equation. But now Y is equal to 1. So the reason why I did not put the 1 in parentheses is because there was no number in front of it. So we got to get X. So what do we got to do? Use those beautiful brains. So negative 3x equals 3. So to get rid of that negative 3, we got our point, negative 1, comma, 1. Any questions before we keep it moving? And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, 75% of the stuff that you learn in a math class, you probably will not use 10, 15 years from now. You will use the skills of knowing how to follow directions, knowing how to take your time, knowing how to not quit when you mess up, knowing how to do a problem that takes more than one step, knowing how to be patient. Those are the skills that you're going to use for the rest of your life. Now, if you're a business owner or a manager, then you're going to use a little bit more of the mathematical concepts. So whatever your station in life is going to be will determine how much or how little you use. Let's make a table. We need to know how to make a table in order to know how to graph. Because we're eventually heading towards graphing. So, complete the table of values. So, this problem is no different than what we just finished doing up here. These two problems are no different from each other. Blank, comma, -1 is the same thing as that. We just did a problem like that. 12, comma, blank is that. We just did a problem like that. So this is no different than what we just did in the last two examples. Plug in the number that we have, solve for the number that we don't. It's no different than what we just finished. So, there's two parts of this problem. We have blank, comma, -1. That means we don't know what x is equal to. Y is equal to -1. And 12, comma, blank. We know that x is equal to 12. We don't know what y is equal to. So go ahead and take a good 2 minutes, knock those out. Anyone got any questions with 3 and 2? If you have a question on either part, now's the time to open your mouth. Remember, when hybrid starts, there's people in the classroom and people on remote. Those of you that are staying remote, if you don't open your mouth and the people in the classroom do, guess who I have to pay attention to? You don't have to answer it. You know what the answer is. That ask me if I'm wrong, let me know here. Someone have a question? Okay, what's your question? Okay, tell me what you did first. Tell me what you did first. Plug it in for x and y. Okay, so that means you have x minus 3 times -1 equals 6. So x plus 3 equals 6. See what you did wrong, and I'm satisfied. You know how many people will do stuff wrong in this lifetime and not say anything because they're afraid of other people knowing that they messed up? I can appreciate that part. Last time I checked, ain't none of us perfect. If you're perfect, then let me know so I can learn from you. So that's how that first one works. The second one works the same way. Take 12, plug it in. So, if you added 12, I know what you did wrong. If you added 12 in this problem, I know what you did wrong. This minus sign, that minus sign belongs to the 3. It doesn't belong to the 12. If it belonged to the 12, it would have been in front of it. So since this minus sign belongs to the 3, that means this 12 is positive, which means you should have subtracted it. Nope, because those are two separate problems. This row and that row are two separate problems. Nope, those are two separate problems. Each row on the table is its own problem. Each row on the table is its own separate problem. But you are right, you do get 2. There's nothing wrong with getting clarification. There's nothing wrong with getting clarification. I'd rather you ask than not ask, or ask when I can't help you. So, any questions on the table before we move on? All right, here says all good. See here, put it see. Put it too long. All right, that part is blank so that we can at least give the basic introduction to graphing. So we'll definitely deal and get into more of graphing on Friday, but there are 4 ways to graph linear function. There are 4 ways to graph linear function. Technically, there are 5 ways. The 5th way is by making tables. Making tables of values. So, this one is the most time consuming. So we only do that one, we only make the tables if we don't have a choice. That's the only time we really do that one, and that's if we don't have a choice. If we have a choice, we're not going to do it. The 4 easier ways, so easier and quicker, vertical lines, horizontal lines, intercepts, and slope intercept form. X sure y equals mx plus b, which we probably won't get to until next week. Probably won't get to that till next week. So, We're going to finish off today looking at just a vertical line and a horizontal line. So, vertical line and a horizontal line. These are the two easy graphs to do. Again, remember, I'll have graph paper out and ready around 1 o'clock. For those of you who wish to pick up graph paper, otherwise you're drawing your own graphs. So we're going to graph x equals 1. So we're going to graph x equals 1. X equals 1 is an example of a vertical line. So a vertical line, up and down line. So to graph a vertical line, plot the x value on the x-axis. So they told us that x is equal to 1. Go to the x-axis and put a point on 1. Put a point on 1. That was easy. Plot a point above or below that point. So, above or below it, it does not matter which one you pick. So if I put one above it, okay, put one below it. Okay. Draw a vertical line. There you go. Problem's over. It's graph. Your graph is finished. Again, this is the type of line that you did in Algebra 1. You didn't do it in Algebra 1, I can't say anything about that. I didn't teach Algebra 1 when y'all were freshmen. So that's how you do a vertical line. Any questions on a vertical line? We're going to quickly do a horizontal line. And now wrap this up for our time today. Horizontal. So anytime you have y equals a number, that's a horizontal line. Line going left to right. So plot the y value on the y-axis. Go to the y-axis, put a dot on -3. Plot a point to the left or to the right of that point. So to the left or to the right. Do you have to do it both ways? No. I did it both ways because I felt like it. Either put one to the left or put one to the right. Draw your horizontal line. There you go. Graph's over. Graph finished. Any questions on a vertical or horizontal line? So those are designed to be the easy lines. Vertical and a horizontal line are the easiest lines to draw. When the lines get slanted, that's when you have to do more in terms of technique which is what we'll get into on Friday.